Well, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for coming. And this is our last Rome information session this semester, and it's our best one yet. We've really bulked it up for you because we have some important people here, all of whom will be speaking to you a little bit about Rome. So I'm happy to introduce, well, you know Professor Abreu, who will be directing the program next summer, and Professor Jacobson, who will be teaching there next summer. They'll be speaking in a little while about their courses. We've invited David Holmes, who attended the program last summer, as well as Professor Desjardins, who directed the program last summer, along with Professor Natali, who taught there. And then from our office, there's me, I'm John, the assistant dean. Allie is here, who directs or oversees the Rome program, and Felicity, who is also in our Office of International Programs. And then we have two special guests who have flown in just for you from Temple Rome. And so we've invited Johnny Morando, who is the Director of Student Affairs at Temple Rome. He'll talk in a little while about why Rome is an exciting place to be. And we've invited Professor Marta Bordignon, who teaches human rights at Temple Rome. And so she'll talk a little bit about internship opportunities and some of her exciting work that's there. So we've also invited one of our visiting scholars this semester, Alessandra Bologna, who is with our partner school, or future partner school in Naples. And so we'll keep the program as short as we can because we know you'll probably have a lot of questions, and we have some great resources here today who can answer them much better than I can. So the first thing I just wanted to mention is why study? In other words, the question that you're all asking is, what's in it for me? Why should I attend Rome? And I've thought a lot about this just from my own background and having spoken to a lot of alumni who have attended Rome, as well as to many students who are currently in a job search. And the messaging we're getting over and over again from our students and from employers is that the U.S. job market is rapidly internationalizing. And so those who have some sort of international talent, some sort of study abroad experience, will always have a leg up in the job market, regardless of whether it's for an international job or for a job that is mostly domestic or may seem to be mostly domestic. And so the major reason we think that's important to think about study abroad is because of this reality, that the rapid internationalization of the job. The EU is a good place to go because together the US and the EU together form the world's largest GDP, which means in that US-EU space, there will likely be more opportunities in the future. And so Rome is seated in the heart of the EU, and so by going to Rome, you're not only getting exposure to Italy, you're also getting exposure to the EU at large. And that is one of the benefits that we see of studying in Rome as well. A lot of domestic employers do value international talent. We know that many students who graduate from the law school will stay in the Philadelphia area. And we've spoken to employers in the Philadelphia area who say they do need international skill. We've spoken to law firms that have maybe small domestic law practices or family law practices who say an increasing number of their clients have international interests or are from foreign countries themselves. And so as a result, we've seen there's just a greater need. The incoming chair of the Philadelphia Bar Association, Mike Snyder, has said that one of his priorities, he's an adjunct here at the law school, and he said to me one of his priorities for his chair as the Philadelphia Bar Association is to build up the International Law Committee to better be able to serve the needs of the growing international needs in the Philadelphia Bar. So be it local, state, or national, we're seeing that there's more and more need for this. We recently had a presentation on finding a job in international law where they actually talked about more and more needs for students and graduates who have that skill set. And so because this is kind of on the horizon, this is something that we know that all of you will face when you're coming time to graduate and look for a job. We feel that the Rome program is really positioning you to be able to capture these opportunities. Before I came to Temple, I worked on Wall Street. I worked with a major Wall Street law firm, Paul Weiss, and I was on their hiring committee. So week after week, we were interviewing 2Ls and 3Ls for jobs, and anybody who had study abroad experience was instantly given extra points because we knew sooner or later we would need that skill set. And some deals that I worked on when I was on Wall Street were international, some were not, but it was a skill set that was needed regardless of what it was. And so we think that this is something for everyone to be aware of as you're making choices to best position yourself for a job. Most students will do law review, and you'll do court, and you'll do other things. One other way to distinguish yourself is having that international experience. And so this is really an important resume builder. Our Temple Rome program is part of a very long and distinguished history. It's not a flash in the pan, it's not something we just started last year, but it's been around for decades. Temple Rome has been in place since 1966. It's a full university building, campus structure that has more than the law school there. And so Johnny will talk a little bit more about that, but it started as our art and architecture school, and then over the years started to get other programs as well. So there's a structure there, there's student affairs support there, there's medical assistance support there are students from other departments who are there because our session corresponds to the Temple Rome Summer 1 session. So you're still going to be part of the Temple University setting and not kind of in a one-off location. So this is just part of what Temple Rome has to offer. There's other things that we say that are very direct resume builders. The first is you're developing cultural competence. And we're seeing employers wanting this more and more. They want people who have a second sense about this is how different people think and this is how different cultures think. And having that sense of international competence and cultural competence is an important job skill. Our courses there will be international in nature. So there will be an international fiscal policy course, international sports law course. So you'll be building capacity in international law, understanding how the US fits into a larger system, and then how different legal systems compare to each other. We also want students to learn about how to become a professional in a global context. So prior to taking this job, where I am right now at Temple, I spent close to 10 years at Temple's Beijing program office. So I lived in China for 10 years directing our LLM there. And I spent time in the Chinese courts, and I spent time in Chinese law firms, and it was different. It was very different to see the civil law lived out than the way it is we're accustomed to seeing here. And going in there, seeing it, talking to people who were there was a way for me to become more globally competent professional. And Rome will offer that to you by some of the field trips that we do and one of the courses that we offer that is Perspectives on European Law. And so these kinds of things will also give you some other ways of experiential learning to better understand how law is practiced in Europe and globally. It also helps you to build a transnational network. You'll be meeting Johnny and Margaret today, but at Temple Rome we have a lot of other people, and you will be meeting students from other law schools. We'll be inviting students who are from the Italian bar to take the program next summer, and from other US law schools. As of today, we already have some applications in our system from students at the University of Memphis, Albany Law School, and Rutgers-Camden. So you'll also be building a network beyond Temple. And this is an exciting part of the program because we want students to be able to use this not only to learn and to increase your global competence, but to build your network, because that network is going to be a lifelong support for whatever professional development that you are seeking. And then there's international internship opportunities. We have a few opportunities in Rome. We'll ask Marta to speak a little bit more about her organization that's doing on-the-ground human rights work all over Europe. But at the same time, we do have other opportunities to share. Most students prefer, at the end of the program, to come back to Philadelphia, and that's okay. The program is only 4 weeks. It's done by June 12th. And then a lot of our students come back after that, and you could still have 8, 10 weeks of an internship or a clerkship or a research assistantship here. And almost all the employers we've spoken to have said if a student is doing Temple Rome, they're very happy to allow them to have a later start date. We can talk more about that individually or during the Q&A. But last summer, all of the students who attended Temple Rome were able to find jobs. And in fact, we had 1 or 2 research assistantship positions available at the law school last summer. But because all of the Rome summer students had opportunities elsewhere, those positions actually went unfilled. So it's an unfortunate thing, but it is also to show that we think that at least in the Philadelphia area and elsewhere, a lot of employers do value Rome and are willing to let students get a larger start date. I remember when I was in law school, getting that job after my 1L, after my 2L year was of prime importance. And the way Rome is structured is it's only 4 weeks. So it's not Rome or, but it's Rome plus. And this is another way for you to build your resume to have a much more abundant and fruitful summer experience that's on your resume, because that is something that employers will look at as well. We have some testimonials. these are on our website, just to say that when we spoke with students who did Temple Rome as students, they came back from Rome and we said, what was the value to you as you were looking for a job, regardless of whether it was an international job? And it was always a conversation starter, an icebreaker. Because almost everybody you'll interview with will have some sort of interest in Italy. It might be the food, it might be the wine, it might be the art, it might be the opera. At least everyone that I've met in the local bar and even abroad has some knowledge or some interest in Italy. And I've noticed that myself. I just came back from China in December, and I've been meeting with people in the local bar talking about our international programs. And it's astounding. I say, oh, yeah, I just spent 10 years in China. And they're like, wow, that's really cool. But then I went to Rome last summer for a few weeks, and I came back and said, oh, but I was in Rome this summer. And wow, that was all of a sudden a conversation starter. I was actually kind of disappointed with that, since China's more my thing. But at the same time, I started to recognize that there is incredible cultural value to having some knowledge about Italy. And so even if, it's always a conversation starter, and I noticed that in any reception I've gone to or attorneys who I've met with. And this would also be true for when I was working on Wall Street. And I remember, now that I'm looking back, a lot of the partners I worked with, when they went on vacation, they went to Europe and they went to Rome. And so having that cultural knowledge and saying, I've been there, I know about Rome, I have all of that, those are all values that can be part and can benefit your interview process. And this is just what some of our students have said. And I talked to John, who was there last summer, and he basically said, I'm not holding myself out as an Italy expert, but I was able to have like an incremental greater amount of knowledge about Italy than other applicants that broadened my perspectives in these ways, and that was something that was very valuable, he said to us as he was interviewing the people. So at the end of the day, it's not going to make you an expert, but at the same time, it is going to increase your global competence pretty significantly, and that alone is a great thing to add to your resume when you're interviewing, regardless of what kind of job it would be, because it shows your willingness to get out, see new things, explore new things in the legal context, and just make the most of resources that Temple is offering you. There was a student from Memphis who made this little video for us. I'm not sure if it'll work yet.
Hi everyone, my name is Dominique Winfrey. I'm a third-year law student at CCC Conference School of Law, and I just want to take this time to tell all of you all that you should definitely do the study abroad program there in Rome. I had an amazing time while I was there. That was my first time out of the country, so I didn't really know what to expect, but the professors, the students, the staff all welcomed me, all made me feel really at home. The work was amazing. I know you don't really hear people say that often, but I learned a lot. I had an opportunity to study international criminal law, international civil litigation, and global perspectives. We had different people from the region who worked all around the country come in and tell us about their work. We got a chance to travel. I went to Greece, I went to Florence, I went to France, Amalfi Coast, Naples. It wasn't class related, but I had the time to do it on the weekends. And so it was absolutely amazing. Here are a few pictures I want to show you just to encourage you a little bit more. And my email is on the screen, so if you have the time and if you really think it's something that you want to do, you have a few questions, don't hesitate to reach out to me. I hope you do. You'll have an amazing time. Check this out.
went to Memphis. The dean of the University of Memphis is one of our Temple JD alumni, so that's why we have the partnership. And we have Albany Law student, our current dean, Greg Mandel, was the former associate dean at Albany Law School. So you can see how we've tried to cultivate these relationships strategically to make more of a networking opportunity for students. So next summer, I'm really pleased to say that Professor Brave and Professor Jacobson will be teaching. They were my first choice as well, so it ended up working out well. So I'm just going to turn it over to them to talk a little bit about their courses.
So, in some ways, I wish you hadn't shown those pictures because it makes me want to go to the airport and get on an airplane now. But I have to wait till the summer. I started going to Rome with Professor Natali back in 1999, and I have been back to Rome pretty much every other year since, either directing or teaching in the program or just going to give lectures, etc. And I'm especially excited this year because we have some really cool innovations. First, as John has already said, we have shortened the time of the program, which is designed to let you do Rome plus whatever else you're going to do for the rest of the year. So you will be done by June 12th, and that gives you a nice chunk of time. While you are there, I think of this summer's program in basically sort of three different stages. We will have the first 3 weeks at Temple Rome, and Professor Jacobson and I will be teaching our courses, which we'll tell you a little bit about in just a minute. But then we are working with the folks at the University of Arcipone in Naples to work out a way of, they have invited and offered to host Temple Rome students at the university in Naples, which is located in this fantastic space at the top of a castle on the Bay of Naples with the most incredible view that you can imagine. Although you're not there for the view, you're there to learn law, but you are right across from Capri and Ischia, and to your left would be the amazing Amalfi Coast that you saw in those pictures. But we're working out a program where for the last week of the program, we will be in Naples, hosted by the university. We will stay in an Italian university, and we will learn about various aspects of Italian civil law and the law of the European Union, which is very important if you're going to work in the international space. Not only do you need to know about civil law, which is very different from the law that you're learning now, but the EU is a big deal, right? Brexit, do you want to be in? Do you want to be out? Why would you want to be in? Why would you want to be out? And how does that affect international transactions? We'll be able to learn about that, and having that kind of global knowledge, I think, matures you as a lawyer in ways that are not easily quantifiable, but nevertheless very real. So I confess, first time I went to Rome with Professor Natali in 1999, I had this idea that it would be fun and I'd eat a lot of good food. I was skeptical about whether much law would actually be learned. And frankly, I was surprised. Yes, the food was delicious, and obviously Italy is beautiful. But the level of growth and maturity that I saw in the students was really remarkable, because you were living in a foreign country and you were learning the cultural competency. And I think lawyers, at the end of the day, are problem solvers, and we use our legal knowledge to solve those problems. But the day-to-day interactions with affect the way law structures life, and you need to solve the day-to-day problems like what detergent do you buy at the alimentari to put into Italian washing machines? You know, those are they're maturing experiences. So you should all go to Rome. the 2 courses. So I think of my course as a course on what issues all countries need to face to make Apple pay the rent. So global businesses would love to not have to share their profits with any country, keep it all for themselves. And countries, of course, all want to get the benefit of those profits that multinational companies and any global business is generating from within their borders. So you have 2 strong competing forces. The policy issues that the countries face are universal, and the OECD, the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, which is headquartered in Paris, but which writes all of its documents in English, which is very convenient, has, since 2013, undertaken a really important project globally to devise rules and to study policies and systems that countries can use to make sure that Apple pays the rent. And so my course will not be a technical course. You will not be reading cases or looking at statutes. We'll be reading policy documents which will explain the laws of various countries. Professor Jacobson's course will be on international sports law, and he'll tell you a little bit about that.
Hello. Before that, let me put my plug in for Italy. I added it up, and in the past 2 years, I spent 6 months of my life in Italy because I fell in love with it. During the breaks, during the summer, during Christmas vacation. In fact, I was there twice this month alone because I saw a window of 4 or 5 days. There's a nonstop flight to Venice, and I jumped on a plane and I went there for 4 days and then came back. I like it that much. I had the good fortune of spending part of the summer at our Rome campus. I did a speaking engagement tour with Julius Erving, Dr. J, and we launched it at our Rome campus, and then we continued the trip up north of Venice to some areas up there. I'll be teaching international sports law. What does that mean? You know, I get the students that when they take my sports law class, they say, what does that mean? The thing about sports law is it's fascinating in the sense that it's really the convergence of many different disciplines. So not only what I teach here, but what I'll be teaching in Europe, in Italy, sports law is contract law. Sports law is labor law with collective bargaining agreements. There we're going to be studying the labor relationships between the teams and their players. But you know, some of that is portable and transferable to here. It's antitrust law. You know, what gives the Eagles the right to carve out a territory and exclude any other team from playing in its territory? Isn't that an antitrust violation? The answer is no. We're going to be talking about antitrust principles as they apply over in Europe. Discrimination. Here we have Title IX, which requires that women be afforded the same opportunities to participate. We're going to be talking about what similar laws may exist in Europe. So sports law is really, we're talking about agency, we're going to be talking about doping. We're going to be talking about match fixing, which is a real problem. Legalized betting. Here, it's a relatively new phenomenon to bet on sports other than Las Vegas or maybe through Atlantic City. In Europe, it's standard practice. So I'm very excited to be there. I'm very excited to be teaching with Alice. I think it's going to be a fun course. I can't wait to sample some of the wines that I have not sampled in my travels. I have learned that prosciutto is not the same all around Italy. And where I spend most of my time north of Venice, it's San Daniele, which they say is the best in the world. But if you go to Parma, they have their own. And so you learn about these battles within the country about who has the best food. To me, I don't care. It's all good. So whatever region the wine or food comes from, it's really a remarkable country. I'm looking forward to not only taking a deeper dive into Rome and Naples, but really spending time and getting to know students too, and having fun while learning. And I think you can do both. And those that have taken my classes, I think I can deliver on that promise.
Thank you so much.
I think the final thing that I just want to say is that what you will experience in Rome is like what you experience here, in the sense that there will be classes, and we will be at the front of the room for those classes. But the Rome program is a program. So you won't just be coming to class and then going off on your merry way. We will be doing field trips where we will all be traveling together. We'll be spending time on buses where we can get to know each other. And I think that one of the really important dividends of doing Rome is that I find that I get to know students and my colleagues in a very different, deeper way than I do here, where I come in, I teach my classes, I go back to my office, and there isn't an opportunity for other interaction. So I think that's a really important piece of it also.
So with respect to the Legal Perspectives course, we'll have an update for you as we work out the details with our partner school in Naples. So we'll have more by the next information session, and we'll let you know more about it. So it will be again, be a very exciting opportunity to really see a piece of the Italian legal system that haven't seen before. So in the past, we have had a course as part of our Rome curriculum, and we'll have similar content with different areas, just to give you an overview of how things are seen in Europe a little bit differently on various areas of law, be it commerce, be it human rights, be it international organizations. So internships. We know some students may want to stay in Rome, in Europe, or may want to come back. So Susan, could you just explain a little bit about what students did after Rome last summer?
Well, David, who is here, could probably explain it better than I do. David and several students did internships during the program. And that, I think, involved spending an afternoon or two a week at the firm that they were working with, and on a variety of tasks. Some experiences were really just sort of getting to know the practice and being with the lawyer they were working with. David and Katie stayed at their firms for another month or so.
2 months, yeah.
2 months after the program was over. So you were essentially working full time.
Yeah.
Then why don't you tell people a little bit about what you worked on?
So I worked at Vitalian Partners. I set up the internship so that I worked at the time the program was 5 weeks, I worked part-time during the 5 weeks, and then when those 5 weeks were over, I stayed for an extra month and a half, close to 2 months, and worked full-time. They're an international private law firm. They gave me research work to do, and honestly, it was a really fantastic experience. If you guys can get the opportunity to work abroad, I would recommend it. It's the first thing that everyone asks me in my interviews is, oh, Vitalian Partners, oh, Rome, what was that like? And then that's just a great segue. Also, it was a really invaluable experience, and I'm currently actually still in contact with my supervisor, and I'm still doing research for them this semester.
I'm not quite sure how these things will happen this year. Last year was kind of unusual because John had just started and Allie came on board really late. My guess is Allie will probably be doing the setups of these things. And what we typically do is reach out to the firms that we've had partnerships with and ask them if they're willing to have an intern. And that can change from, like, Portolano last summer didn't have the bandwidth to do it, but they have done it frequently in the past. So, and then the students who are interested talk directly to the firm. So there is something of an application process in that sense. But I think we were able to find an internship for everyone who wanted one. And hopefully that will be true this year as well.
And then with respect to clerkships here in Philadelphia, I know that students worked with these judges because they were aware of their own program and willing to support late starting
So one point I just wanted to make about the opportunities to intern in Italy and using our contacts. You might think that you need to know Italian, and I was amazed when I went and visited some of these law firms to know that the attorneys in this picture, Mr. Petrucci and Katie worked for Petrucci and it's a brother-sister law firm. And you know, when I visited them, I asked, okay, well, how does Katie help you if she doesn't speak Italian? And he explained, oh, when I'm reading these documents, I just translate them to her, and then she gives me feedback. And I'm thinking, the relationship that some of our partner attorneys offer students, I think might be even better than what you could get here, especially in between your first and second year. So as one of your considerations when you're weighing all of your options, I want you to think about benefiting from the relationships that prior Temple students have cultivated so that you can take advantage of them. And we've kind of sussed out the better mentors, and they're a great example.
So Martha, can you just talk a little bit about your work in Rome and your work in your human rights organization?
Sure. So, hello everybody, again, as John was saying before, so I am a faculty at Temple Rome. I teach now contemporary politics of Europe and politics of the global economy, but my background is in international law, because I graduated in political science, master in international relations, and as a PhD in international law. So I'm a political scientist, but I normally work and have a lot of friends that are lawyers, attorneys, so I have also this kind of multidisciplinary background. And so apart from being a faculty at Temple Rome, I also founded with other colleagues, with other friends in Italy, an association that deals with human rights and business. So business and human rights maybe is a topic that, especially in Italy, is not so well known so far. And when we have founded informally this kind of network, this kind of research group 4 years ago, it was really not known by the majority of people there, especially for the ones that are working in the business environment. So now we are working on it, and the topic is growing up a little bit more. So now we have this official association that has been founded last year, and that deals with all the stuff that are related to human rights violations committed by corporations. So as Alice was mentioned before, the multinational corporations that are headquartered in Europe, in Italy for sure, but even in the Nordic countries in Europe like UK or the Netherlands, for example, that have the major companies, multinational corporations that we have in Europe, and they can for sure, through their activities, impact on human rights in different ways. So mainly the activity and the mission of the association is to train people about business and human rights. So we have organized since last year a summer school in Italy that has taken place in Pisa last year. This year in Rome, it was just after your summer school program. It was in the end of June. And it will take also place next year in Naples, actually in Procida Island. That is a teeny island close to Capri and Ischia. So we will have even the chance to have students coming, not only students, but even practitioners, NGOs representatives, and lawyers and academicians coming from all over the world, actually. And so the association is also working on, for example, different kind of research topics, like all related to business and human rights, and even to migrants' rights, because we have among the co-founders also a lawyer that is expert in migration law and in protection, international protection and asylum seekers and refugees law. So we are working on mainly on these two different topics. One of the other main activity is also to draft research reports. So my colleagues now are working on a report that is about the implementation of the Italian legislation 231 2001. That is a law decree, actually not a legislation, but in Italy it works like a law, like a bill here, and it provides for the criminal and administrative liability of companies in Italy. So among the crimes that are listed in the legislation, you have also the environmental damage or like the human trafficking, modern slavery crimes, so part of the human rights that could be affected by the corporate activity. So you don't have just to think about how corporation, could impact on your rights, like if you are an employee of the corporation, but even try to imagine all the impact that it could have on the environment. So climate change today, it's a burning topic, for sure pollution, but even all the rights that could be impacted, the rights of the local communities. So try to imagine that a big company that is headquartered here in the US or in Canada decided to operate, to maybe build a dam in Brazil. They may for sure impact on the environment because they may divert a river, for example, or they may have an impact on the local and the indigenous community there. So all this stuff are under the big umbrella of business and human rights. So my association that is called Human Rights International Corner is actually the unique one that we have in Italy dealing with business and human rights at all. So we have the big NGOs in Italy, like the international NGOs that are also have a branch in Italy, like Amnesty International or Save the Children or ActionAid. We have connections with all these NGOs. So in terms of internship, you may be interested for sure to be an intern of my association, and this is possible because being both a faculty at Temple Rome and the president of the association, we have already had some interns that were study abroad students at Temple Rome, but even during the last semester, I had 2 interns that were there for the summer 1 semester in Rome. So it's something that we are working on with Jen and Ellie for having some of you as interns in my association. Other kind of opportunities that you may have apart from the international law firms, the ones that are already in the list that you have on the PowerPoint, but I know even other international law firms in Rome, especially that they are dealing with both private and public law. Some of them are also, 2 of the major ones are also dealing with cases related to business and human rights in Europe, because maybe you know that through the Council of Europe, so the European Court of Human Rights, you may file a complaint against a company if it's quoted in Europe, in one of the 47 members of the Council of Europe, and you as an individual, so you have the right to file a complaint against a company there. So even some of the main cases related to business and human rights, especially in Italy, we have a very sad and famous case of a steel company that is located in the south of Italy, in Taranto, that is polluting the environment, that is damaging all the human rights related to health, even up to education of employees, but even of people that are living in the neighboring areas of the company there. So this is, for example, a case that has been brought before the European Court of Human Rights, and one of the major Italian law firms that is headquartered in Rome is taking care of the case. Other kind of opportunity you have in Europe, not only in Italy, about law, it's, for example, the European Law Institute that is based in Vienna, in Austria. They have a lot of internship there. So I guess that if you are, if you want to become attorneys at law, so it's sure that you maybe are more interested in having, in doing an internship in an international law firm. But you have even other kind of opportunities, like even NGOs. If you are interested, for example, to try to understand how it works from the civil society side, that is completely different sometimes from the business side or the international law firm side. So I'm here if you have any other kind of questions, so thank you for your time.
Thank you so much. And one thing we discussed yesterday was that even though your organization is an Italian-based organization,
sure.
all of the work is done in English.
Yes,
So,
the majority of the work.
That's great. Well, thank you so much for coming.
Yeah, sorry for forgetting about that.
And thank you for sharing those resources with our students. So Marta will be here after our session today if you'd like to talk to her individually about her work that's there. Life in Rome. As we told you, Temple it's our own building. We have our own structure there. And we have things going on at Temple Rome that go beyond just our law courses and the field trips that we do, but there are other cultural things that are going on. Cooking classes, wine tasting, and those kinds of things. And we're very fortunate that, and Temple Rome has hundreds of students going through it in any given year, and the Director of Student Affairs is here with us today, Johnny, who will talk with us a little bit about resources that we offer to students who are there. Grazie amico.
Grazie. Ciao a tutti. Ciao. So in Rome, I work in Rome as a part of the staff. I manage the orientation, the student activities, and all the social media, and plus a lot of other special events. Thank you for inviting us. This is so great to meet you today. Clearly, first of all, these two classes you're going to be teaching, they're so interesting. I want to, can I be part of it? I really like those. I really. But of course, I'm not going to talk about classes or anything. I'm going to talk about anything else as a Temple Rome in Rome, right? Because as we said, you're going to have your experience as a law student, going to classes, learning a lot, internships and everything. But also, there's also like another part of your experience in Rome, which is like going abroad. Some of you, how many of you already went abroad, outside of the United States? 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, how many of you in Italy? Okay, so 1/3, I would say. So you will notice, like when you come to Rome for 4 weeks, it's not just like a 3-day vacation. It's not like a 1-week vacation. It's 4 weeks. You will be living in Rome. Most of you will rent an apartment in the neighborhood of Temple Rome, right? Dealing, as we said, with the daily life problems. So your language, your Italian is not going to be there at the beginning. So you're going to be a little bit overwhelmed at the beginning because the culture is a different culture. The language is different. Everything is different. And maybe most of you, especially those who never went out of the country or never been to Italy, it could be a little overwhelming at the beginning. And of course, this is part of the experience. You want to put yourself in a situation that's completely different from here. That's the challenge of studying abroad. It's part of the experience is like putting yourself facing these challenges, getting through these challenges, ordering it in Italian, learning some words, and maybe meeting some Italians, going through in a different culture with a different language, and making going through this. And this is part of the study abroad experience. I see a lot of the students coming clearly for a full semester, the summer semester, and when they arrive, they're all so overwhelmed, scared, and most of them are like, why did I apply for this program? I want to go back home. At the end of the semester, they're completely changed. They're completely new people. The way they are, they're open-minded, they're completely different. They're facing the other, like in a country, in a different country, right? And that's what we want to do. Make this distance between you and the other a little bit shorter, right? You will be facing a lot of new things, and you will see how changed you will be at the end of your semester abroad. You will meet a lot of people, a lot of Italians. You will eat a lot of food, different food. You will try to make a difference between the prosciutto from Parma and maybe San Daniele. You will see like the wine is not just wine. There's something behind that. And of course, in Temple Rome, we have some activities for you guys that you can participate in together with our Summer 1 students. So at Temple Rome, when you're going to come, you have about 150 Summer 1 undergrad. They're coming first semester at Rome. And most of the activities you will be participating with, if you want to, and if you sign up for, is going to be with them. So it's a way to meet new and other friends. And you will be going to a cooking class. Maybe you will learn how to cook the Italian way with 2 Italian chefs in an Italian kitchen. Italian stuff, everything's gonna be Italian, and then of course you're gonna be eating fresh pasta with tomato and tiramisu that you made. Then you're gonna go to a wine tasting night. You're gonna have like a sommelier explaining what a wine is, what's behind a wine, how to match with food, how to evaluate the wine. And the way, next time when you're gonna go to a restaurant, you're not just gonna go with the wine, you're gonna be like, let me do it. Strawberry, yeah, you're gonna be doing this way. This is part of your experience abroad. You're gonna be playing soccer maybe with some Italians in an Italian field. You're like, what am I doing here? Yes, It's something like it's a small field, like playing with Italians, and like they're screaming at you in Italian, like I don't know what they're talking about. But that's a part of the thing. It's all the experience behind, applying for a study abroad. We have so many activities. You're gonna go to Todi and Titignano. This is like the second week that you're in Rome. You're gonna go to this fantastic hill town. And yeah, that's actually was I think, and you're gonna, here we go. Look at beautiful, there's a Todi there, well you're gonna go, it's a medieval hill town in the heart of Umbria where you're gonna walk around, get a cappuccino, a cornetto with your new friends, and then you're gonna go to Titignano where you're gonna have a lunch with a lot of food, a lot of Italian food and wine, and that's when all of a sudden you will realize that's why I applied for this program. This is part of the reason why I applied. Did it happen to you?
Yeah, it did not matter.
Okay. Yeah, that's exactly what this is it. So like, I'm gonna be here if you have any questions about where you want to live in Rome, because I know you're gonna get an apartment, so it's very important. This is something I want to stress, that the location where you're gonna get your apartment in Rome, we can give you like some information about that, but it's Rome is pretty safe. So all downtown, the Temple Rome is located in the heart of Rome. It's very central. It's actually a nice villa. We've been there since 1966. So the first group arrived from Tyler by boat. 1966. And then the program grew up, and now it's like for the spring we had to put a gap.
Yeah.
Like the students apply. But that means there's a lot of interest in Rome, clearly, and our campus, and all the opportunities you might have there. So choosing the apartment and the location is very important, not too far away from campus, but very centrally located, and maybe you want to have a metro, buses passing by. But in general, Rome is pretty safe. It's a very safe city. You will see walking around, we have students walking all the time, even at night, and there's no problem. Where did you stay?
I stayed in Flaminio.
In Flaminio, right?
Yeah, right next to it, yeah.
Okay, so very nice,
Very safe, yeah.
Did you feel safe?
All the time.
All the time.
Yeah.
So this is one of the things, you will see walking around, and did you take buses, metro, taxi?
Yeah, we take the metro, but it's very walkable, the city. At least we thought so, that most of the time there's enough time to walk to wherever you're going, really. But the
Yes.
metro and the buses are very accessible.
Exactly. And then you have like your weekends where you can go to the beach. You can the beach is very accessible, very easy to go. You can travel Rome, like it's located like in the heart of Europe. So you have like a lot of low-cost flights going to Barcelona or whatever you want to go, Madrid, any place beside Rome that you want to experience. And it's just 1 hour, an hour and a half flight, very cheap, they're low cost. But also in Rome, in Italy, you can explore from Venice to the south, as we said, Amalfi, Capri, all these islands, or Florence, Venice. It's a city on the water. When in Rome, when in Italy, you want to go. There are very beautiful things that I'm sure you're going to love, beside, of course, the courses. They look amazing to me, like I think that are really interesting, and you have like two great professors, so I can't really say anything So we're here, so for after this, if you have questions about anything, money, where to get an apartment, what to fly, whatever, we're here. Okay, thank you.
Great, thank you so much, John. So, in other words, we care for you when you're there. If you're worried about health insurance, those kinds of things, by part of this program, if you do get sick, you call International SOS. They will put you on the phone with an American doctor who will then refer you to the appropriate place in Italy to be seen, and then they will fax insurance confirmation to the provider before you get there. I made it a point to get sick the last time I was in Rome. I tried the system and it works really well. So, but Johnny and his team there are very familiar with it. So there's people there who can support you, and we have systems in place at Temple to support you for all of your life issues that may occur while you're there. So just, I kind of just flip through a lot of these quickly since I think you've heard enough today about what we do there. But we've got the field trips. I don't really need to show you many pictures of Rome. You know, the food, the markets, the cafes. So these are just part of a part of the experience that you'll have when you're there. So there's Johnny's picture. So Johnny can be a resource after, and then of course you welcome Allie, who was also there last summer and can explain some things as well. The campus is right on the Tiber River. In a very central location downtown. You can walk to the historic, it's actually part of the historic district. So it's right close to everything. You know, the Spanish Steps and the Piazza del Popolo are just a few steps away. So the location of Temple Rome is ideal, and all of the resources that are there, we think you'll really be able to appreciate. And we have scheduled the Umbrian luncheon already, so it's going to be a part of what we do. So since we're kind of coming to the end, I just wanted to mention a few things about cost. The tuition for Temple Rome has not been increased for the past several years. So we're probably one of the least expensive, if not the least expensive study abroad option of all that are available right now. So the tuition is that. The housing, there's a range. Depending on how many roommates you have and what kind of place you want to live in, there's a range of housing, and we can explain all of that. We do create a Facebook page for all of the students who go to Temple Rome, and that's where we provide a lot of additional information about housing, and there's the opportunity to find roommates either from Temple or from other schools, or find your own place as well. Allie has been very experienced about how to get cheap flights. Basically, if you book now and get it insured, if you have to cancel, it's not a problem. If you book your housing now, there's very often no cancellation penalty. So sometimes just being prepared for this, even if at the end you don't go, you've got yourself prepared, and Allie can discuss that if you have any questions about that. And of course, food is our experience has been that food has been less expensive in Rome than it is here, and if you do your own cooking, it will be even less expensive than that. So financial aid is available because we offer at least 4 credits. It's a 5-credit program, and if you have any specific questions about financial aid, we ask you to speak to Larry Bridges in the financial aid office, and he'll be able to explain how your package works with Temple Rome, and our office is also happy to facilitate those conversations as well. So there's a range of costs. If you plan early, your costs will be less. If you plan later, it could be more, but again, we saw a range last year as well. But our suggestion is that you start planning early, and that allows you to maximize your resources. Most students were able to find their houses using Airbnb, but again, we'll have more information as we get closer to the date, but there's no harm in booking something now, especially if there's no cancellation penalty. We do have a residence hall that is more expensive. It's more like a hotel. So that's available. And then, of course, it's our application. We have your email addresses, so we'll be in contact with you, but you just apply online. And if you're a 1L, we make the decision after. We invite you to apply now, but we make the decision after your first year grades come out. So that's our contact information. We have like a couple of minutes left, so are there any questions? Otherwise, we'll finish. Yes?
It says application fees waived, right? The $50 application fee, it says a year it's waived. I just want to make sure that's true.
For Temple students, yes.
Yeah, okay, cool.
For traveling abroad to other countries, how frequently would we be do that? Like, what's the class schedule like?
Typically, students travel, in my experience, every single weekend. And when we work out the schedule, we try really hard not to have classes on Friday afternoons so that you can get an early start for the weekend. And, basically, in my experience, a lot has depended on what kind of flight deals there are. And there was some summer where everybody was going to Morocco, and there was another summer where, it was Barcelona, and there was another summer where people were getting on the overnight train and going up to France. People bond, and you make travel arrangements, and you can start doing that the first weekend that you're there.
That was my experience last summer as well. There's a lot of cheap intra-Europe, Ryanair and a couple others. So basically people would go and see what is the cheapest place to go that weekend, and that's where they would go. I think a couple people went to Stockholm, for example.
And traveling in
It was sort of like, you
Europe,
gotta be flexible, but then you could go really expensively.
and traveling by train in Europe is remarkably fast. You can get from Rome to Naples in like an hour and a half, and
1 hour.
1 hour now. And, you know, getting up to Venice is also just, you know, what?
3 hours.
3 hours and
hours.
45 minutes.
Yeah.
Any other questions? So great, so I guess we'll finish here. And if you have any questions, we're happy to talk now. Thank you so much for coming.